Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn, and today I'm going to do a little bit of a live, or I should say a real-time craft along. And if you caught earlier, not too long ago, I hosted on my channel a live premiere event. This was the Artful Angel Mystery Craft Along that my design teammate Kim Creates actually hosted. I just had her video on my channel. And the Mystery Craft Along, if you're not familiar with it, is really fun. We do this every once in a while in the Artful Angel Facebook group. I'll leave a link to that in the description box below if it's something that sounds interesting to you, because I'll be hosting the next one in November. But the idea of the Mystery Craft Along is that going into the 50 minutes to 1 hour event that we host, you aren't going to really know exactly what you'll be creating. You just know that it'll be a card. Maybe you can guess what style of card it's going to be based on the supply list, which is provided to you in advance so that you can get all of your pieces prepped. And during the course of the 1 hour that we have everybody join us live, a clue will be revealed every 3 to 5 minutes or so. And so that gives you quite a lot of time to, if you were not able to prepare all of your pieces in advance, you can definitely be crafting as you go and cutting and choosing your papers as you go. And if you are like me and you like to prepare everything in advance, then it's just a fun time to just kind of chat along with everybody and see how everybody's doing. But because you don't see anybody doing anything on camera, you don't know necessarily if you are doing the right thing, which is kind of fun because this is actually the second time I'm doing this particular mystery craft along. The first time I did do it going in blind, and I misread one of the clues, and I actually did it a little bit differently from what Kim had designed. But that's part of the fun, because at the end of it, we'll all potentially have our own either twist, intentional or not, and it's really fun to see what the host actually designed. And oftentimes I've learned some really fun card designs that I've actually just added to my little crafty tool belt and have made again afterwards. So let me quickly go over the supply list. This video is going to be different. This is an actual craft along, so I'll actually show you what we were intended to do. But what I'll do is kind of read everything along so that you can sort of see what we would be getting in terms of the clues and supply list. So before the event, the supply list included cutting a piece of cardstock to 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, another piece at 3 by 6. And then we had a piece that was cut to 1 7/8 in solid color, 1 7/8 by 4 1/8, and then in a coordinating pattern paper, 1 3/4 by 4 1/8. Another piece of solid color cardstock at 2 7/8. That's that one. And then coordinating pattern paper at 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. A piece of solid color cardstock at 4 1/8 by 4 1/8. I just decided to go with this pattern, which is mostly solid. So when I see patterns like this, I almost treat them as a solid because it's monochromatic, the print is rather small, so I think that you could easily swap this for a solid. Same with this one too. So the next piece is a piece of coordinating pattern paper at 4 inches square. Then we're asked to have a piece that is cut to 2 1/8 by 2 1/8 in a solid color cardstock. Again, I just use technically a pattern paper, but it's so fine, the white dots, that I feel like I can treat this as a solid as well. then a square piece that is 2 by 2, and I've already stamped and colored my focal image onto that piece. And that's because I know where that's going now after the fact, you wouldn't necessarily know to have put your focal image here. So just bear that in mind. And then we also have our sentiment, which I stamped and die cut out of this banner flag die, which came with, it was actually a nesting set. So I die cut out a slightly larger matte layer for that. And then the rest of the supply list includes coordinating inks if you want to ink the edges of your pattern papers, ribbon if you want to use that, any dies, punches, or other ways to kind of cut out different shapes, in particular for your main focal image. And obviously adhesive of some kind, additional embellishments if you want. And some of these things are going to be optional, and when they are, it's actually stated in the supply list and the clues. So those are all of the supplies, and now getting into the actual what was revealed during the craft along. So clue number 1, I'll set all of this aside. Clue number 1 stated that with the piece that is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, that we need to score at 4 1/4. So I've already scored that line in advance there. And we want to fold that along the score line. With the piece that was cut to 3 by 6, we want to score and fold that in half at the 3-inch mark. So I'll go ahead, I've already scored them both, and I'll go ahead and fold and burnish these score lines. And since this is going to be our card base, I cut this out of 100-pound white. So there's our 2 starting pieces. Clue number 2 states to ink the edges of all the solid and pattern papers, except for these 2. I am going to go ahead and skip that step just to save ourselves a little bit of time. Clue number 3 states to hold this first piece here so that the 2-inch flap folds up from the bottom. So here's the 2-inch flap, and it's folding up from the bottom. And then it says open this flat with this open towards the bottom. Okay, so that's open towards the bottom. And then we are instructed to actually adhere these 2 pieces to the center of this top portion here. So let me go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to use my handy ATG gun. So you can see that the instructions are given kind of, one small step at a time. So I think that does help make it a little bit easier to follow along. But because there's 5 minutes in between each clue, and it doesn't necessarily take you 5 minutes to accomplish that particular step, there is plenty of time to kind of be cutting your pieces as you go. And if you're, as I mentioned, if you're already all prepped, it's just also fun to kind of chat along with us. Some of the design team members are often joining us for the live event. The host for that craft along, in this case it was Kim, is obviously going to be there. And if you do truly get stuck, we are all there to help also. And Kim usually prepares photos if you need a little bit of a hint. as to where a piece needs to go or how it needs to get attached. So that was clue number 3. So the next hit clue is number 4, and it says hold this piece, which is the 3x6 piece that we basically folded in half. And we want this so that the fold is at the top, and we want to adhere this in the center of this portion here. So it's going to go like that. And this time I might use some liquid adhesive just to really make sure this is a nice firm stick here. My paper is a little bit glossy. I forgot about that. So I'm going to eyeball centering this. Let me get this folded so that I can... That's the other reason to use a nice liquid adhesive, because this is pretty quick grabbing the Line Coat pH neutral PVA glue that I use, but it does give me a little bit of wiggle room to nudge things around a little bit if I need that time. Okay, so give that a really good burnish. Okay, got that down. The next clue states to attach these 2 pieces. These were the rectangular pieces, and to wrap some ribbon around here. So I am going to first attach these. Well, while my liquid adhesive is here, let's just continue to use that. And I might go ahead and just skip the ribbon, again, to save time. But also because, as with anything, everything's up to you, the crafter, so don't feel like you have to follow along exactly if you see something that you want to be doing differently. And then what we want to do, it says, is to fold the bottom flap up and adhere this on top of here. So, and it does look like there's going to be a little bit of a white border all the way around. So I'll be sure to try to center that. So I hope that you, if you were able to join us for the live premiere, that you enjoyed the mystery craft along. And let me know what you think about having these on my channel. It's definitely something new and different for me. So I will hopefully, as I mentioned, host another one in November. I think I'm going to be the next one to host, but who knows, maybe somebody else will want to pop in and host one in October as well. Okay, so we've got, that was clue number 5, was to attach this. Then we have a lot of mats and layers to attach to the top of this panel here. So I'm going to go ahead and open it out this way so that it's nice and flat. So we have, we want this to go on top of that. So let's go ahead, and this is a thinner paper, so let me just use my, I've got quite a bit of mix, and you can actually see some of these pieces are pretty small, so I actually just raided my scrap bin for most of these pieces, and pretty much was able to get everything that I needed right out of my scrap box. So I'm always happy to be finally using up and taking nice chunks out of my scrap bin. So I think the largest piece is the these first 2 mats that we put down, and even the largest one's only just a little bit more than 4 inches. So again, we're gonna center this, and the other, once you see this come together, like I said, it's just another kind of fun fold that you can then be adding to your repertoire, but then you can start mixing things up. Like if you don't like super thin margins like these, you can always adapt that and change it up when you go to make this design again. And then I'll go ahead and attach these two together. And then we can just put this onto the very top of this panel here. Look at that. Oh, this is kind of a glossy, so usually with papers that might have a little bit of a coating, I like to use a liquid adhesive. I feel that gives me a better stick. So that's about centered. And this stamped image is from Artful Angel. It's from the Extra Chromie stamp set, which was specially designed in the August release, actually, and that way we could have it in time to create cards for Down syndrome awareness, which is next month in October. So now that we've attached that on top of this panel, our next step is to add our main image to the front of the card. But I knew that was coming, so I stamped my main image there already. And then the clue number 8 is to stamp, emboss, basically however you want to get your sentiment, and then attach it to, it's suggesting to the lower left-hand corner. So I can do that, but what I'll do first, since I did get some, do a little bit of matting and layering with this sentiment, let me go ahead and attach this first. And then I didn't actually preview this in advance to see how much room I have there. But with the card nearly complete, I can, again, this is one of those things where you can basically see how that's how the card's going to look. All I have left is to add my sentiment and then to embellish. So this suggested that we put our sentiment down like that, which my sentiment is really large. I wonder if it looks better somewhere else. It's so big. I could put it on the inside. That's an option. And then you would sign and write your card there, or your message there. I could put it on this flap instead. And that'll be a nice little surprise because it'll be hidden. And then you open it and then you get your sentiment. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So, and what's funny is this is what I did by mistake. I actually attached this 2x2 square to this flap because I misread which part I was supposed to attach it to. So that was just a happy accident. But now that I've seen how that looks, I'm gonna actually do it intentionally. And that's what I mean by once you've made any card or any sketch once where you're following somebody else's directions, you can then just take your own sort of creative license and do it however you want the next time around. So I'm gonna give myself a pencil mark here just so that I know, because I want that sentiment to be hidden. And so I am going to give myself a reference line so I know not to attach this banner to below that pencil mark. And then I want to also kind of put this at a little bit of a tilty angle just for some interest. So my quick and dirty way of doing this is I just hold my piece basically where the glue should stop, and then I know I should only be putting glue on this end of my 2 fingers. So that's just a nice rough guide. If you want, you can give yourself a pencil mark also. so that you know where to place adhesive. And let's not glue that down just yet. There we go. So that, erase that. Okay, so that's nice. Tilt it a little that way. So there's that. And look how quick that was. So our card is pretty much complete, and the final clue was to embellish. So maybe I could add some additional glue drops, tie a bow or a ribbon. I might go ahead and do that off camera. I've got some Nuvo drops that maybe I'll put some yellow or some orange Nuvo drops around. But how fun is that? So at the time when I was making this the first time and I was following the mystery craft along blind, just like everybody else would be, I totally didn't recognize what I was doing. But this is in fact a joyfold card. Normally I've made joyfold cards going this way, where the flaps open left and right. But it's kind of fun to see a joyfold card oriented differently, where the flap opens up and then down. And then you've got plenty of space still to write your message. If you wanted to stamp another sentiment in here, you could totally do that as well. So I hope that you enjoyed this craft along. Again, Artful Angel Facebook group is the group where we host the mystery craft along, and if all things go according to plan, I'll be hosting the next one in November, and we will again have that as a live premiere here on YouTube. Thanks so much for joining me today. Until next time, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye.